Double male lead heavy +, a fan of thousands of people heavy +, true and false young master heavy +, face slapping really smells good on site heavy +, Chuanshu Xiaotian WenChuanshu Yingdi is under attack by ex-wealthy tycoons. Lu Yumian unexpectedly fell from a high altitude and found himself accidentally wearing a book. In a novel that I passed the time reading during my lifetime, I became the canon fodder fake young master in the book who occupied the magpie's nest. In the original book, the fake young master Lu Yumian cannot accept the fact that he is being held wrong and greedily covets the property of the Lu family. Everywhere there was a confrontation with the actual ruler of the Lu family, Lu Tingnian, and in the end, he was naturally slapped in the face, becoming a laughing stock on the entire internet. Lu Yumian couldn't help but feel speechless as he thought of his future tragic ending in the book. It was all done by the original owner, and now he must let this innocent stranger take the blame. Is it still possible for him to die again now? Unexpectedly, Lu Yumian returned to his old profession in his previous life, starting from a young actor in the entertainment industry who was frequently exposed to black material, and accidentally became a sensation in the entertainment industry. Afterwards, Lu Yumian made up his mind to avoid the cannon fodder, and when he saw the real young master Lu Tingnian, he was willing to hide. However, the older brother Lu Tingnian, who originally had a deep dislike for himself in the book, gradually looked at him with a different gaze. One day, I watched as Mr. Lu forced himself into a corner and imprisoned him in his arms. Regarding this, Emperor Lu pretended to be calm and said, "Big brother, please speak up." The old man in front of him lowered his eyes and whispered, "It's already late." The man's well-defined palm easily covered the waist of the boy in front of him, and his eyes were tinged with a hint of lust, carrying a deep and bottomless madness. Upon seeing this, Lu Yingdi said, "Don't come over." Chapter 1. Medication. You are listening at novel full.audio. It's so hot. Ah, a bright young man in the private room whispered softly, with a hint of mist in his eyes and a hint of confusion. Why is it so hot? The cheeks were stained with a crimson blush, and the lips opened and closed, making uncomfortable gasps. The boy felt his whole body burning hot, and his slender fingers couldn't help but untie the collar of his shirt, revealing his delicate and fair collarbone. The boy tossed and turned on the sofa, feeling countless ants gnawing at him. After a while, there was no sound inside the private room. After a long time, two people were quietly opening the door from outside the private room and walking in. They saw a young man lying unconscious on the sofa beside them, and one of them showed a look of fear. "Brother Chen, is Lu Yumian okay?" The middle-aged man, known as Chen Gu, did not see the scene he had expected, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. "That's not right. In theory, the medicine should have started to take effect at this moment. Lu Yumian, this kid, should be feeling uncomfortable. Why didn't he hear anything when he just walked in from the door?" Another seemingly younger man approached and observed Lu Yumian lying on the sofa. Seeing the other person's flushed face, pale lips, and furrowed eyebrows, the boy's fingers curled up, causing Su Su to feel a bit worried. "Chen, are you saying this kid is okay? Why does he look half dead?" Upon hearing these words, Chen frowned unconsciously, with a hint of impatience in his tone. "Don't daydream, there's too much medicine left. Mr. Wang is still waiting. If you don't help me quickly, help me pick up this kid and take him to Mr. Wang's room." Su Su looked at the unconscious young man lying on the sofa and swallowed his inner concerns. The two of them then worked together to lift the boy from the sofa. At this moment, the two were still discussing what resources to exchange from above. Lu Yumian slowly opened his eyes, and a glimmer of clarity flashed in his souls. In fact, he woke up for a while. When the two of them just entered, he had been pretending to be unaware and listening to what they wanted to do to him. Unexpectedly, these two planned to send him to someone else's bed. Suddenly, Lu Yumian's heart sank. Yes, he is not the original Lu Yumian, but the actor Lu Yumian from another world. He also doesn't know what his current situation is. In theory, he is already a highly experienced three-golden emperor in the entertainment industry. People in the industry have always been respectful of him, and generally no one dares to use such vulgar means against him. And he clearly remembers that he was filming a famous director's movie on the set at that time, but due to safety issues, he accidentally fell off Weiya. How could you open your eyes and come to a place similar to an entertainment venue? Lu Yumian quickly sorted out the thoughts in his mind, and he felt a headache splitting. Suddenly, a strange idea came to his mind. Has it been difficult for him to travel? However, he didn't have time to think about it, he just felt hot and uncomfortable all over his body, and his body temperature seemed to be very high. Rao, the actor who has been in the entertainment industry for many years, is currently not clear-headed and understands that his body may have been drugged by these two despicable people in front of him. Lu Yumian felt wet all over his body. Otherwise, in his previous life, he had studied some martial arts specifically to perform his role well, and it's unlikely that he would still be useful at this moment. But now his hands and feet feel limp all over, probably because the medicine is too strong, otherwise his original body wouldn't have fainted. Suddenly, Lu Yumian caught a glimpse of the wine bottle on the table and made a quick decision in his mind. Su, who was supporting him, couldn't help but be startled when he saw Lu Yumian's eyes open. He looked at the young man in front of him and trembled slightly. Lu. Brother Lu, why are you awake? Upon hearing the other person's tone, Lu Yumian couldn't help but feel a bit surprised. It seems that the other person is quite afraid of their true identity. As an actor in his previous life, Lu Yumian naturally had superb acting skills and quickly made judgments on the original protagonist's character, portraying it with a hint of hypocrisy. Get lost. Get lost. The boy's voice was tinged with a hint of annoyance. Lu Yumian exerted all her strength to push Su aside. Su was already thin and weak, and his personality was hesitant. It was inevitable that he felt guilty for the first time doing such a thing. Without any precautions, Lu Yumian was immediately pushed to the ground. On the other side, Qi Chen saw this scene and quickly turned to Lu Yumian with a pleasing smile on his face. Mr. Lu, you're drunk. Xiao Su and I are helping you back to the apartment. I saw Lu Yumian in front of me as if I couldn't hear him. I picked up the glass wine bottle next to me and used Qi Chen's words to play with his drunkenness. I'm so annoyed. Don't touch me, I'll go back by myself. Seeing Lu Yumian holding a glass wine bottle with a shaky appearance, no one dared to step forward for a moment. Qi Chen glared at Su, who was pushed to the ground, with a hint of disgust in his tone, gritting his teeth and whispering. If you don't get up yet, come with me and send this kid up quickly. Suddenly, Qi Chen saw Su's wide eyes in front of him and opened his mouth wide. Before he could react, he felt a warm stream of blood flowing from above his head. Damn it, Lu Yumian, this kid dares to smash a wine bottle at my head. Qi Chen's voice was filled with a hint of anger. I saw a young man who was originally going crazy with alcohol, although his figure was unstable, he took the opportunity to rush out of the door. At this moment, Qi Chen regained his senses and took that medicine without causing any drunkenness. Just now, Lu Yumian, this kid, tricked them. Shit, Su, you don't want to catch up with me soon. Qi Chen supported his head, his face somewhat grim. Lu Yumian was caught off guard and hit his head, feeling that his head was buzzing. The just smashing of the wine bottle had already exerted all of Lu Yumian's strength. Although his lower body couldn't exert any force, Lu Yumian didn't dare to relax. He knew that once he was caught up by someone behind him, his fate would definitely be very miserable. Seeing the footsteps rushing towards her from behind, Lu Yumian quickly made a judgment in her mind. He needs to find someone to help him. Seeing that the person behind him was about to catch up with him, Lu Yumian took the lead in opening the door of one of the private rooms and dodged inside. At the moment he hid in, even though his consciousness was blurred, he noticed that the gaze in the private room instantly fell on this unwelcome guest. The men, women, and goddesses in the private room had different colors. Looking at Lu Yumian standing at the door with a flushed face, some showed surprise, while others showed a hint of hostility. I saw a handsome boy speak first. Bai Xiao, the security here is also too poor. Any cat or dog can break in. After finishing, he chuckled lightly, with a hint of ambiguity. The man named Bai Xiao did not respond to the boy beside him, but instead looked first at the man sitting in the main seat. The man's demeanor is dignified, his appearance hidden in the dim light, and he can only glimpse his slightly pursed lips, looking unhappy. Lu Yumian knew he was wrong, and it was already his fault to accidentally break into someone else's room. But now he has no choice, and people outside will never let him go. Looking at the people in the private room, it seemed that they were all waiting for the man in the main seat to speak up, and he knew that this group of people were following the man with an extraordinary demeanor. After thinking for a moment, Lu Yumian took the initiative to step forward and slowly spoke to the man in the main seat. The young man's tone before the meeting was a bit embarrassed, and his expression was also a bit flustered. However, he had a good appearance, with a slight redness at the end of his eyes and a hint of clarity in his eyes. "Sir, can I stay here for a while?" Chapter 2. Holding Thighs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The young man's voice is not loud, but it can still be heard clearly by everyone present. The boy who had harbored hostility towards Lu Yumian from the beginning couldn't help but widen his eyes, as if he didn't know why the boy in front of him had such thick skin. On the other side, Su Su was originally chasing after Lu Yumian when he casually entered a private room. He originally wanted to go straight in and tell the people in the private room that Lu Yumian was an artist under their company. He got drunk and took Lu Yumian away. At this moment, he looked at the door sign inlaid with golden letters in the private room and finally regained his senses. I heard that the private rooms with golden lettering are usually used by upper-class people and are not sold to the public. But as soon as he thought about Qi Chen and Mr. Wang's side, he felt it was getting tricky again, so he had to stand at the door hesitating. At this moment, Qi Chen, who had been brainwashed, walked over, originally intending to reprimand Su Su for losing him. As I approached, I frowned as I looked at the house number, and there was already some speculation in my heart. Lu Yumian, this kid, may have accidentally run into this private room in a panic. However, the identity of those who could enter this private room was either rich or noble. Qi Chen's heart couldn't help but sink. We have come to this point now, and if this person is not brought to Mr. Wang today, I'm afraid he will have to leave the entertainment tonight. Qi Chen glanced at Su Su and opened the door to the private room in front of him. Sure enough, I saw the figure of Lu Yumian inside. At this moment, he regained his senses, including some familiar faces. For example, Bai Junming, the second youngest child of the Bai family who often appears in entertainment news, and Lin Chu, the recently popular young student, who was secretly hostile to Lu Yumian just now. There are also young masters from various families and producers in the industry among them. The man closest to Lu Yumian was somewhat unfamiliar, and Qi Chen couldn't recall seeing him again for a moment. However, being able to sit in the main position among this group of wealthy tycoons, Qi Chen couldn't help but feel secretly shocked. Since you have already come in, it is necessary to take out this stinky guy Lu Yumian. Lu Yumian's family is just a nouveau riche with little background, what connection can they have with these big shots? Moreover, his backer behind him was the entertaining Mr. Wang. Thinking about this, Qi Chen couldn't help but speak towards Bai Junming, whom he thought he was familiar with a hint of flattery in his tone. Bai Xiao, I'm sorry. My artist got drunk tonight and accidentally walked into the wrong private room. I'll take him out now, so I won't disturb your interest. Qi Chen said and approached to grab Lu Yumian's wrist. The young man's face turned pale all of a sudden, and his face also felt a bit sore. Let go of me. He tried to pull Qi Chen's hand away, but couldn't get any effort. I saw Qi Chen threatening in Lu Yumian's ear with a voice that only two people could hear. Go back and deal with you. The people around looked at the scene in front of them as if they were watching a play. No one spoke up, and some people had a hint of interest in their eyes. Seeing the man sitting in the main seat silent for a long time, Lu Yumian's heart suddenly cooled. Lu Yumian didn't know where the courage came from, so he knelt down and hugged the man's thigh in front of him. Anyway, if he is taken away by the man in front of him tonight, he will probably not die or be half disabled on Mr. Wang's bed. He, Lu Yumian, will let go of his old face today. He just stays here and won't leave. Everyone present was stunned by the actions of the young man in front of them, and for a moment, a layer of frost seemed to condense in the air. Lu Yumian hugged the man's thighs with both hands, and his mind was a bit drowsy, directly resting on the man's lap. My brain seems to be burning silly, sighing and saying. So ice, so comfortable. In an instant, the man sitting in the main seat looked at Lu Yumian with a somewhat cold and sharp gaze, and his aura was even lower. Those familiar with Lu Tingnian knew that this was a precursor to his anger. Bai Junming was about to speak out and adjust the atmosphere of the scene when he saw this, so he had to remain silent. Just as Lu Tingnian was about to throw this ignorant young man off his trousers. The young man slowly lifted his head, tilted his small face back, and smiled at him with a smile on his face. His eyes were slightly moist, and his entire face also showed a strange red color. His obedient hair was perfectly attached to his smooth forehead, and there was also a sweet and greasy fragrance on his body, which cannot be ignored. Lu Tingnian's originally violent movements suddenly froze, as if thinking of something. His jaw-line tightened, and a hint of dullness appeared in his eyes. The people around me still can't react to what happened. I saw the man speak without mercy, his eyes cold and pitch black, and anyone could tell that the man's mood at this moment was not beautiful. Get lost. Chen didn't know the identity of the man in front of him, so he could only accompany his smiling face. I'll take the kid out now. Lu Yumian didn't know if there was still a trace of willpower left. Upon hearing these words, I couldn't help but tightly grip the sharp-cut trousers on the other person's body in my palm. He stays, you go. Upon hearing this, Chen couldn't speak for a while before the meeting. Bai Junming saw the scene at this moment, like a smiling fox, speaking to Chen. Sir, you can go back on your own first. Since your artist doesn't want you to take him back, we can just drop him off later. For me, it's just a small gesture. Although Bai Junming's tone seemed polite, it was commanding. With a smile on his face, but no smile in his eyes. Upon hearing these words, Chen also knew that this matter could not be accomplished tonight. I didn't expect that Lu Yumian would have such good luck. Suddenly, he could only reluctantly step back, pretending to care about Lu Yumian before leaving. Remember to give me a call to report your safety when you go back. At this moment, Lu Yumian's mind was already in a daze and he couldn't hear anything, but his movements became more and more reckless, wanting to firmly hold on to the large ice block in front of him and cool down. Lin Chujian, who had been ignoring him all along, didn't push Lu Yumian away, and his eyes showed a hint of jealousy. Some people in the private room were also surprised. It is said that the unnamed ruler of the Lu family, Lu Tingnian, sat in the position of a business tycoon in City A with thunderous means and treated the men and women who came knocking on his door with coldness and ruthlessness. Unexpectedly, now he indulges a young man holding his thigh. At this moment, another person entered the private room, who turned out to be the butler of the Lu family. Do you have any instructions, young master? Lu Tingnian lowered his gaze to look at the young man, with a hint of impatience in his tone. He didn't know if it was an illusion, and it vaguely made people feel a bit helpless. Take him to the hospital for a check.Up. The butler Lu only then noticed that his eldest young master was being pulled by a young man's pants and not letting go. He was clear about his cleanliness obsession, and couldn't help but be secretly shocked in his heart. Upon closer inspection of the young man's face, he couldn't help but exclaim in amazement. How could second young master be here? As soon as manager Lu spoke, everyone in the private room was shocked. Is this person in front of me the ignorant and inexperienced little rascal of the Lu family, Lu Yumian? Lu Yumian. Chapter 3. Wearing Books. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Lu Yumian opened his eyes again, and what caught his eye was the dazzling white. I should be in the hospital now. The man from last night. He struggled to lift his heavy eyelids, and for a moment he had a splitting headache. A memory that belonged to his original body surged into his mind like a fountain. After accepting his memories, even though he had been struggling in the entertainment industry for many years and had experienced great storms, Lu Yingdi's expression rarely revealed a hint of shock. The slender and white fingers of the young man couldn't help but grip the pristine white bedsheet beside him. He, Lu Yumian, actually traveled to a true and fake young master's novel he had read before, and even became a canon fodder fake young master named Lu Yumian with the same surname in the book. He remembered the ending of the fake young master Lu Yumian in the book and couldn't help but shiver. It's miserable, it's really miserable. Fake young master Lu Yumian, in order to compete with the real young master for family property, not only infuriated the favored old man Lu into the hospital, but also deliberately designed a car accident, hoping that the real young master Lu Tingnian would be killed in a car accident on the road. However, how could the big shot Lu Tingnian be harmed by this malicious fake young master? Naturally, he was exposed for his conspiracies and schemes. Previously, Lu Tingnian would still consider the face of Mr. Lu and completely ignore his actions as a fake young master. However, since Mr. Lu was infuriated and unconscious in the hospital, Lu Tingnian showed no mercy and expelled himself from the Lu family. And the original owner, Lu Yumian, also admired the young master of the Zhou family, Zhou Qinchuan, who was the hottest actor in the world's entertainment industry and just entered the entertainment industry. The original owner is frequently criticized in the circle, and his popularity is extremely poor. To put it nicely, he is just a useless vase. This time, without the protection of the Lu family, the original owner had become accustomed to taking care of himself, and in the end, he even embarked on a path of no return. Naturally, he was eaten by these wolves, tigers, and leopards in the circle, leaving no bones left. Thinking of the original ending, Lu Yumian couldn't help but feel a bit sad. But now that he has worn it over, he naturally wants to avoid the consequences of cannon fodder and not compete with the real young master for family property. Mr. Lu is the most ruthless man in the original book, a true young master who has been separated from the Lu family for many years. Before the Lu family could claim him back, he had already become a rising star in the business world of City A. Now his current identity is just an awkward fake young master of the Lu family, and his food and clothing are all from the Lu family. He dares to oppose the real young master of the Lu family. Lu Yumian couldn't help but sigh. The original owner's mind was probably caught in the elevator door and not clear. After organizing her thoughts, Lu Yumian picked up the phone next to her. Unlock according to the password in memory, and you will see many missed calls. Among them, Chi Chen made the most phone calls. Upon seeing the name, Lu Yumian couldn't help but tighten her lips and her eyes darkened. This man named Chi Chen is the agent of Xu Zhongyuan, who advocates sending his original body to the entertaining Mr. Wang's bed. As one of the shareholders of a well-known brokerage company in the industry, Mr. Wang naturally has abundant resources. However, what makes him even more famous in the industry is that he spends his time in bed. It is not an exaggeration to say that the men and women who were sent to his bed were either alive or half disabled. Thinking of the storyline in the book, Lu Yumian couldn't help but sneer. Although the original owner had a bold and domineering personality, he has not yet made any outrageous actions. In the original book, there is naturally no escape from the plot of being drugged. In the end, not only was the original owner favored by Chi Chen, but the most terrifying thing was that he was recorded in an indecent video by the called Mr. Wang. Later on, it was exposed that he had become a villain who climbed the bed in order to climb the upper echelon, and it was not an exaggeration to say that he was a complete blacklist on the internet. The original owner became mentally unstable from here and vented his anger on Mr. Lu, leading his anger to the hospital. Lu Yumian glanced at the missed call and didn't stop either. Put people on the blacklist. In just a short while, he had already figured it out. He wants to terminate the contract and leave the entertainment. This dog company, let's not wait. At this moment, the housekeeper Lu opened the door and entered. Xiao, are you awake? Coincidentally, the old man asked me to bring you some food from the old house. Would you like to have some? Lu Yumian looked up and saw that it was the butler of the Lu family. It can also be considered as someone who has grown up in their original form, with a hint of love on their face. Lu Yumian moved her lips and her face looked a bit pale, making her look like a well-behaved teenager. After a high fever, her lips were slightly cracked, and her words were a bit hoarse. Thank you. Steward Lu was a bit surprised, but he didn't say anything. After all, he watched as Lu Yumian grew up. It was normal for her to experience that kind of thing last night and her character to grow. Steward Lu's eyes were filled with a hint of heartache. Anyway, it can be considered as him watching the growing child. Xiao, don't thank me. Last night, it was the young master who instructed me to take you to the hospital. If the second young master wants to thank you, please thank the young master. Lu Yumian insisted on sending kanji to his mouth with a spoon. Quickly recall last night's events in my mind. The person who saved himself last night was actually the eldest young master of the Lu family, Lu Tingnian. I don't know why I felt a bit complicated when I was taken down by Lu Yumian. Recalling last night's actions towards that man, I felt even more ashamed, as if I had hugged his thigh. Besides that, there shouldn't have been any more extreme actions, Lu Yumian thought to herself with some unease. In the original book, Lu Tingnian always regarded his cheap younger brother, who had no blood relationship, as an heir. Surprisingly, he helped him last night. I will personally thank my older brother when I have time. Steward Lu's face showed a relieved expression, indicating that after experiencing last night's experience, his second young master had finally grown up. Originally, he would only rudely call the young master by his first name, but now he is willing to call him Big Brother. As an elderly person who has spent most of his life in the Lu family, he naturally enjoys seeing the two brothers living in harmony. Lu Yumian rested in the hospital for a while before leaving in the afternoon. After the boy left the hospital, he immediately took a taxi to the entrance of Huanyu. As soon as I entered the door, I saw Qi Chen and his internship assistant Su Su in the lobby. Qi Chen was still scolding Su Su on the side why he didn't keep a closer eye on people, so that Lu Yumian could have an opportunity to run out of the private room. On the side, Su Su stood quietly like a quail, obediently receiving training. Suddenly, Su Su saw Lu Yumian walking in from the door. My eyes couldn't help but brighten up. Brother Chen, has Mr. Lu come over? Qi Chen has not yet reacted. What? But Lu Yumian walked over first. Qi Chen. Qi Chen heard a familiar voice before turning around and looking at the young man in front of him. Lu Yumian was able to be signed as an artist under the Joyful Entertainment brand, and his own conditions were naturally not bad. The young man had fair skin, a high nose bridge, superior facial features, and narrow, peach blossom-like eyes that stared at people without reason, exuding a hint of sentimentality, making people unconsciously addicted to it. After Lu Yumian walked over, she carried a hint of the temperament of a previous life, cold and aloof like a tall and upright bamboo, with a magnificent temperament. Qi Chen couldn't help but be swayed by the beauty of the young man in front of him. Even in the entertainment industry, there are not many artists with such superior appearance conditions. Before the meeting, Lu Yumian's eyes inexplicably showed a hint of sharpness, her aura somewhat oppressed, and her indifferent mouth uttered a sentence without reason. I want to terminate the contract. Chapter 4. Termination of Contract. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. As soon as Lu Yumian spoke these words, Qi Chen in front of him instantly changed his expression. I don't pretend my attitude anymore. Mr. Lu, do you know how much the penalty for breach of contract is? You dare to ask me to terminate the contract. I'm afraid even selling you won't be enough. After speaking, Qi Chen in front of him still looked like a small person achieving success, and even pretended to shake his head. As long as the artists who have signed their entertainment contracts have never seen them terminated intact. Either the person who was claimed for bankruptcy or there is no such person in the circle. Qi Chen felt that the young man in front of him was still too young and had not figured out the current situation. Lu Yumian looked at the person in front of her with an ugly expression, and her eyes couldn't help but chill. Although the original owner was a fake young master, he could still be considered as the one watched by the Lu family grow up. The reason why Qi Chen, the original agent, was not informed of the identity of the young master of the Lu family before was only due to the self-esteem of the young man. He believed that the young master, Lu Tingnian, who was a wandering and real young master, could take over the business of the Lu family once he returned to the Lu family. He was naturally able to make a career in the entertainment industry with his own strength, winning the favor of Zhou Qinchuan, the eldest and youngest of the Zhou family. Thinking of this, Lu Yumian couldn't help but sigh. Although the original owner had a bad temper, fortunately he didn't use his identity as a young master of the Lu family to commit any wrongdoing in the circle. Lu Yumian is unwilling to argue with the people in front of him. Emperor Lu Ying believes that his time has always been precious, and he really does not want to waste time on the bad people in front of him. So, bring over the terminated contract. He, Lu Yumian, wanted to see what contract the original owner had signed, so that the man in front of him could be so confident and fearless. Qi Chen didn't expect the young man in front of him to insist on terminating the contract. He instructed Su beside him to bring the terminated contract from the company. Not long after, Su brought the contract over. Lu Yumian took the contract and glanced at Su. Oh, it was another man from last night. Lu Yumian in front of him looked at the contract in front of him with a calm expression on the surface. But when I saw this contract, I cursed inwardly. It was like a cannibalistic clause. The training of artists under Joy Entertainment requires self-payment. Just hiring a performance teacher to teach artists every year costs over 100,000 yuan, which is like pouring money into the company's hard work. Moreover, the most chilling thing for Lu Yumian was that the treaty stipulated that artists had to work for the company for 10 years before the contract could be terminated. Even green onions and small cabbage have been boiled into old yellow flowers. How many 10 years does life have? If the artist forcibly terminates the contract and needs to compensate the company 50 million yuan, Lu Yumian looked at the contract and felt disgusted. He said bluntly to the man in front of him, I won't sign this contract. Upon hearing the expected words, Qi Chen couldn't help but laugh out loud. He believed that Lu Yumian in front of him regretted seeing the sky-high penalty for breach of contract. What's wrong with Lu Xiao, regret it? Lu Yumian recalled that in the contract signed by the original owner, there was no mention of a penalty of 50 million yuan. Otherwise, even if the original owner was foolish, it would not have been possible to sign this seemingly inhumane contract of sale. Before the meeting, Lu Yumian's eyes couldn't help but squint, like a chilling sword. There's nothing to say, let's meet in court. Qi Chen found this sentence even more amusing, as the young man in front of him was still too naive. It's not that artists who haven't come back to their senses before want to protect themselves through legal means. However, Huanyu is also a big company in the industry, and the actions of artists who want to terminate their contracts are usually shot at the stone with eggs, causing no waves. It seems that Lu Xiao won't give up until he hits the southern wall. Upon hearing these words, Lu Yumian felt amused. What role was the owner of this dog, who made him so reckless? Alas, it seems that the way people are being eaten nowadays is just a change. Lu Yumian walked out of the entertainment gate and went back to his original apartment to tidy up his things before returning to the old house of the Lu family. After all, the butler Lu told him this morning that the old man of the Lu family wanted to see him. As a younger generation, he naturally wants to see this elder who takes great care of himself. And his words to Chi-Chen just now were not impulsive. He has not done anything wrong with his original body yet. Although his nominal elder brother is unfamiliar with him, the old man of the Lu family loves him very much. I have to clean up this mess for the original owner, so I have to rely on the power of the Lu family first. When I leave the Lu family later, I will find an opportunity to repay the Lu family and Mr. Lu. The old mansion of the Lu family. The old man of the Lu family is sitting in the living room, his face a bit ugly. At this moment, Manager Lu walked in through the gate and smiled at Mr. Lu. Master, second young master has returned. Subsequently, Lu Yumian walked in behind the butler Lu. The decoration style of the Lu family is a new Chinese style, and Mr. Lu prefers the scenery of Runan. There are also many gardens built outside. Even Lu Yumian, who had seen many grand scenes in his past life, couldn't help but marvel at the strength of the Lu family. No wonder the original owner coveted it. As Lu Yumian entered the hall, he first saw Mr. Lu sitting in a wheelchair with an extraordinary demeanor, as well as the familiar man beside him, his nominal elder brother Lu Tingnian. The man was dressed in a straight black suit, with a tall and slender figure, broad shoulders, and a body proportion that was comparable to that of a male model. His thin lips were slightly pursed, and his demeanor was introverted and steady, like a dormant beast. Excellent and sharp facial features are like meticulously crafted by artists, and even in the entertainment industry, they are unforgettable. Unfortunately, he is a man with such outstanding appearance, and he is also the emperor of the business world in City A, with ruthless methods and immense power. When I saw Lu Tingnian, Lu Yumian was a bit surprised. How could he be here? Or perhaps this moment of unconsciousness was captured by Lu Tingnian, and Lu Yumian was caught off guard and immediately met the other person's deep and dark eyes, feeling a strong sense of oppression. After the panic, Lu Yingdi quickly averted his gaze and felt like he was about to freeze into an ice sculpture after just a few more glances. Sitting in a wheelchair, Mr. Lu watched as Lu Yumian entered. Although there was a hint of joy in his eyes, he still pursed his lips and remained silent, with a heavy expression on his face. At first glance, Lu Yumian knew that it was the old man who probably had a disagreement with his original body earlier. He immediately smiled at the old man, and the young man's eyes flickered like bright stars. "Grandpa, I'm back." After finishing these words, Lu Yumian realized that there was still the Buddha, Lu Tingnian, present. He slowly spoke up and continued to shout. "Big brother, why did you come back?" Finally, Lu Yumian felt like he couldn't say such foolish words. Lu Tingnian is the true young master of the Lu family. After all, among the three people present, only he is an outsider. I even asked the other person why they came back. Does Mr. Lu still have to inform me of this fake young master when he returns to his own house? Finally, Lu Yumian seemed to want to save something, so he added dryly. "Big brother, really? Really coincidental." Lu Tingnian looked at the young man in front of him, his face filled with reluctance, but he still took the initiative to say hello to himself. He also called himself Big Brother, but in the past, he used to say Lu Tingnian fluently. Mm. The man's voice was a bit deep, unable to hear any emotions. Although he didn't say much, it could still be considered a response to Lu Yumian. On the side, Mr. Lu's mouth twitched and he had long wanted to speak. His tone was still a bit angry, and he said to Lu Yumian. "Son of a bitch, you still know you're coming back." Lu Yumian immediately accompanied him with a smile. "Yes, Grandpa, everything you said is right. It was Yumian who made you worried." The corners of the boy's eyes were curved, like a cunning little fox, making people feel softened upon seeing it. Lu Yumian's use of softness is very beneficial for Mr. Lu, as he always eats softness rather than hardness. Today, it was the first time that my grandson had softened his relationship with me. The old man couldn't help but feel a bit surprised. Humph, coincidentally, your older brother is also here. You two will accompany me to have a meal later. Lu Yumian nodded obediently. Obey me. Seeing that Lu Yumian had become much more sensible than before, Mr. Lu's face finally relaxed. On the side, Lu Tingnian looked at Lu Yumian in front of him, and a strange feeling flashed in his heart. Does the other party seem to have changed a lot? Did you get scared by what happened last night? Lu Tingnian looked at the young man in front of him, who was listening to the old man's speech with his head lowered. His eyes were a bit dull with some complex emotions. Chapter 5. Return to the Lu family. You are listening at novel full.audio. It is rare for the three of the Lu family to gather at a dining table for a meal. Mr. Lu was originally an old man who looked like Yen Su, and Mr. Lu Tingnian had a reserved and indifferent temperament. No one spoke during the meal, but instead, Lu Yumian felt a bit uncomfortable. The young man held his chopsticks in his right hand and unconsciously gazed at Lu Tingnian sitting opposite him. TSK, it should be said that his big brother is really pleasing to the eye. He can eat more food even by looking at him a few more times. I saw the man sitting opposite me suddenly raise his eyes and look over. The man's gaze looked calm, as if he had noticed someone looking at him long ago, but he pursed his thin lips. Lu Yumian didn't expect to be caught peeking so cautiously. For a moment, he felt embarrassed and flustered in his heart. It was really embarrassing, and his earlobes unconsciously turned a little red. Immediately lower your head to pick up the rice, as if you don't know anything. Perhaps due to being too guilty in the depths of my heart, I unconsciously accelerated my pace of eating. Cough cough. A low and muffled cough came, choking on eating too quickly. Lu Yumian immediately pulled a tissue and covered his mouth. The boy's face immediately turned red, looking a bit uncomfortable. Subsequently, Mr. Lu spoke with a slight concern. You kid, what are you doing eating so fast? Take your time and come here, Grandpa will give you a smooth ride. Lu Yumian covered his mouth and shook his head. He was already so big, and even let the old man give him some peace of mind. Mr. Lu really doted on him as a child who couldn't take care of himself, but he couldn't feel so at ease. Suddenly, a glass of water appeared in Lu Yumian's gaze. Looking up, it was his nominal elder brother Lu Tingnian who, at some point, brought over a glass of water. Lu Yumian quickly took it, but accidentally touched the person's fingertips, and suddenly felt his entire finger burning. The next second, I hastily took a few sips of warm water before feeling refreshed. The young man said thank you in a muffled voice, as if feeling a bit awkward. Thank you, big brother. Upon hearing the other party's quiet and obedient thanks, Lu Tingnian suddenly felt a strange feeling in his heart. Originally, he didn't pay much attention to this brother who had no blood relationship. Since the last incident, he has unconsciously noticed him, feeling like he's keeping a little pet. It's okay. The man seems to be a bit indifferent, perhaps it's just a casual and unintentional action for him. After finishing the meal, Lu Tingnian was the first to leave. He also had some company matters to attend an online meeting in his study later. Lu Yumian played chess with the old man in the hall for a while. Sleeping brat, Grandpa wants to tell you something. Grandpa, you said. Grandpa, you have nothing to do all day. You can go to Xingshi for an internship in a few days, and I'll have Tingnian take you with me. Lu Yumian was somewhat surprised. After all, the original owner had also wanted to intern at the company of the Lu family, Xingshi, before, but Mr. Lu did not agree at that time. The original owner had a big argument with Mr. Lu because of this, and believed that he had no blood relationship with the Lu family, treating him as an outsider and not allowing him to intern at the company. Little did he know that it was because at that time, Mr. Lu wanted his grandson, who had ordinary abilities, to go abroad for further education, so that he wouldn't be underestimated when he joined the company. But Mr. Lu couldn't help but think that his grandson turned around and secretly entered the entertainment industry behind his back, even signing a contract to sell himself. Upon hearing the old man's words, Lu Yumian was also somewhat surprised and looked at the old man with a serious expression in his eyes. "Grandpa, I don't want to intern at the company anymore." Mr. Lu sighed when he heard Lu Yumian's words. "Sleeping brat, are you still blaming Grandpa for not allowing you to enter the company?" Upon hearing this, Lu Yumian shook his head and quickly explained. "No, Grandpa. I want to act and become an actor." Lu Yumian was not impulsive, he just thought about his current abilities and conditions. The original owner's appearance was not much different from his previous life. With such a good innate appearance, coupled with the fact that Emperor Lu Ying believes he has so many years of experience in acting in the entertainment industry, he can definitely make a name for himself and not embarrass Mr. Lu. On the contrary, if he were to go into business, he really didn't have that brain. He is a person who can even lose gold beans by playing landlord. In terms of financial management, he is also average, and it is fortunate that he doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't want to go to the company and cause trouble for anyone. And acting is a career he has always loved, and he believes he can do it well. Mr. Lu knew that his grandson had a stubborn temper, and he probably had a sudden idea to act. However, he won't dampen the enthusiasm of his grandson. He just learned some things before that the entertainment industry is relatively complex, and he doesn't know about himself as a foolish child. Well, he told his grandson to pay more attention. "Okay, sleepy kid, go act. Grandpa will support you when the time comes." "Okay. I won't embarrass you all the time." Mr. Lu deliberately wanted his two grandsons to cultivate a relationship. After all, it was rare for both of them to be at home, and although the child in front of him had no blood relationship with him, he had seen the older child since childhood. The other grandson, who has a blood relationship, feels a lot of guilt and wants to do his best to compensate him. But as a child, Lu Tingnian has nothing to worry about and manages every detail of the Lu family very well. "Okay, good kid. Can you help me bring the fruit platter that's ready in the kitchen to your big brother's study?" Lu Yumian couldn't help but feel a little scared when he thought of Lu Tingnian. After all, the other party was a book center with a deep understanding of Lu Dalao. However, Lu Yumian didn't want to refuse the old man, so she obediently agreed. Lu Yumian carried a fruit platter and followed the route from memory to the door of the study. Knocked on the door and shouted softly. "Big brother, Grandpa asked me to come up and bring you a fruit platter." In the study, Lu Tingnian turned off the microphone on the computer and rubbed his tired temples. "Come in." I saw the young man outside the door quietly turning the door handle. Before anyone could step in, he was the first to poke out a furry head. "Big brother, may I disturb your work?" "I'm sorry." Lu Tingnian looked at the young man in front of him who had originally wanted to say something, but it stuck in his throat. He originally wanted him to take the fruit tray back and solve it on his own, but unexpectedly, he had someone come in by a stroke of luck. After all, he never let others in to disturb him when he was working before. "It's okay." The man in front of me remained silent as usual. Lu Yumian stepped forward and placed the fruit tray on the table. "Big brother, can I ask you something?" "That's right, do you know any lawyers? If I encounter some trouble, I might have to file a lawsuit with someone else." Lu Tingnian's gaze instantly sank. Lu Yumian felt a bit regretful when he saw that the other person's face was not right. He couldn't help but tell Lu Tingnian why he wanted to ask the butler. Seeing the other person half silent, I thought it was because Lu Tingnian was impatient. "Big brother, let me forget about this today. I'll go out now." Just as Lu Yumian was about to leave, the man in front of him spoke up. "I will have the personnel from the company's legal department contact you later." Upon hearing these words, Lu Yumian's eyes had not yet regained their composure. It took a while for her to react. Her eyes shone brightly, making Lu Tingnian inexplicably feel like the little dog he had raised in the countryside when he was a child, eagerly watching him beg for food. "Thank you, big brother." Seeing the young man's joyful expression, Lu Tingnian couldn't help but raise the corner of his mouth. Chapter 6. Audition. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Having solved a major concern, Lu Yumian relaxed a bit. The legal department of Shengshe was very fast, and someone added Lu Yumian's WeChat contact information at night. At the moment when Lu Yumian passed by, the other party immediately came to understand the situation with Lu Yumian. Lu Yumian gave the general situation to the other party, and they asked a lawyer under their banner to come and coordinate with Lu Yumian. The lawyer under the banner of Shengshe may indicate some difficulties. However, he will still do his best. Lu Yumian nodded to show understanding, as the matter of the original body was indeed a bit difficult to handle. Lu Yumian couldn't help but sink in his heart. After all, Qi Chen is also a member of the circle. Apart from anything else, the other party deliberately designed to send his original body to the bed of the company's senior management. This matter cannot be calculated like this. Although he has a good temper, it doesn't mean he is a soft persimmon and at the mercy of others. After explaining the situation to the lawyer, we need to immediately solve the work problem. I am eager for quick success and have taken on many poorly made low-cost web dramas. He glanced at the group chat on WeChat, as if he was going to join a web drama of an ancient romance drama tomorrow. He played a small and insignificant character in it, and was immediately released in a few episodes. Originally, he was arrogant and looked down upon this character and the team. However, Qi Chen didn't know what kind of enchanting soup he had ordered for the original owner. It was only after a large and round cake was drawn that the original owner took it. Although Lu Yumian had already made up his mind to leave Huanyu, the crew had already selected a candidate and the staff had already sent him the script and itinerary. Suddenly changing his mind the night before seemed a bit uncomfortable. Adhering to professional ethics, Lu Yumian still decided to go and see if it wasn't as bad as he had imagined. The next morning, Lu Yumian got up early and was still wearing pajamas, preparing to go downstairs to get a glass of water. After all, it was too early at this point, and it was not yet dawn. Lu Yumian is preparing to wake up early. The geographical location of the Lu family's old house is naturally very feng shui, but it is really a bit far from the set. However, after leaving the room, I accidentally ran into Lu Tingnian in the hallway. Lu Yumian's eyelids had not fully opened yet, and her eyes were still somewhat drowsy. She immediately woke up when she saw someone coming. At this point, the man had already sorted out his clothes and was still wearing a neatly ironed suit, looking a bit abstinent. Lu Yumian was somewhat surprised, but still greeted his nominal elder brother. "Big brother, good morning. Are you going to the company so early?" Lu Tingnian nodded, and there were still some documents that had not been processed by the company. He had to go early this morning, but he unexpectedly ran into Lu Yumian. The other person was wearing pajamas that were a bit loose, with a slightly open neckline revealing a delicate and fair collarbone. When they first woke up, their hair was a bit messy, and they were surprised to have a somewhat gentle temperament. They were no longer the same as before when they looked at each other with no dignity. Lu Tingnian glanced and then shifted his gaze away. "Well, go to the company." Upon hearing this, Lu Yumian was not surprised, but muttered softly, "I really deserve to be a workaholic." Obviously, he did not escape the ears of the man in front of him. Lu Tingnian casually glanced at the young man in front of him, feeling that he was still the same as before, but now he was even more cunning and knew how to hide his fox tail. But he didn't find it annoying, on the contrary, he found the young man in front of him more interesting. The young man in front of the meeting immediately tidied up his mood, looking very sensible. "That won't delay Big Brother's time, Big Brother, hurry up and go to the company." As soon as he finished speaking, the man passed by Lu Yumian and accidentally brought a cold and dry scent of pine wood. Lu Yumian couldn't help but move his nose. How to say it, it smells so good, Emperor Lu couldn't help but think. Lu Yumian changed into a set of outdoor clothes, took a taxi, and soon arrived at the set. Lu Yumian is one of the early arrivals, but there are already some staff members on the set, including 3 or 4 people discussing some things, looking a bit ugly. Upon seeing it, Lu Yumian did not step forward, but instead quietly watched his script lines. Lu Yumian glanced at the general direction of the play, then looked at the plot to be performed today, flipped through it for a long time, and finally saw the lines of the little guard he was going to play. Boy, this little guard is a secret guard, with only 2 lines in total. A sentence of "obey" and a sentence of "be careful, master" ended up with the second line in the bento was taken offline. Emperor Lu couldn't help but twitch his lips. It was too suddenly. Someone answered a phone call from the group of staff members who were just discussing. The first middle-aged man immediately interrupted the phone conversation. The drama is about to start filming. Where do you want me to find someone to play the role of Pei-in? I have never seen an artist who suddenly started filming and turned around. It's because our production team can't accommodate your Buddha statue. The commotion was so loud that the crew seemed to be doing their own work, but couldn't help but pay attention to the situation over there. Immediately, a little assistant approached and handed a cup of tea. Director, please calm down. It's not that I want to get angry, it's mainly because the other party is really deceiving me too much. They would rather play the 8th male lead in another drama than come to our production team to play the 3rd male lead. You just say he doesn't want to act. He only told me in the morning when filming started. Didn't Lin Chu and his agent treat our entire crew like monkeys? Guo Qingming is indeed a bit angry. Although he has not filmed any major dramas in the industry, he has also filmed several web dramas. It is the first time he has seen such an arrogant and unethical actor. Guo Qingming shook his head. Such a person is destined to walk in this circle soon. Lu Yumian has a rough understanding of the situation, and it seems that the actor who originally played the 3rd male lead has a better choice to give this side to the pigeon. But just now he learned that the role of Pei-in is now vacant. Just as he flipped through the script, he was deeply impressed by the character Pei-in. This is an ancient puppet drama, in which 3 men revolve around a woman. The male lead is the crown prince of the current dynasty, and the female lead is the legitimate daughter of the marquis's mansion who is wandering outside. The second male is a young general, while the 3rd male, Pei-in, is a powerful governor of the court and the fields, with a rank of 9,000 years old. The plot aligns with the current Mary Sue cliché of, he chased after her and she couldn't fly. However, the appearance of the character Pei-in did make Lu Yumian's eyes brighten. Because the sexual tension of this character is too strong, sometimes it's a sickly seedling on the bed plagued by illness, and sometimes it can kill all the people who hurt the female protagonist for the sake of the female protagonist. Unlike the scheming prince and male protagonist, it can be described as crazy in just one word. Suddenly, Lu Yumian had an idea in his heart that opportunities don't always come. If there's a chance that falls in front of him now, it depends on whether he's ready to bend down and pick it up. Lu Yumian adjusted his mind and walked up to the man known as Guo Dao, speaking calmly. Director, hello. My name is Lu Yumian. Do you think I can try the role of Pei-in? Chapter 7. Capturing Characters. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Guo Qingming looked down at the place where the voice came from. What caught the eye was a tall and outstanding young man, whose eyes were clear and his facial features were exquisite, just right on his palm-sized face. In terms of temperament, Guo Qingming exudes a hint of youthful vigor and confidence. Even after seeing all the handsome and beautiful women in the entertainment industry, he couldn't help but be impressed. After all, this face is really beautiful, but if he heard it right, the young man in front of him said he wanted to play the role of Pei-in. Guo Qingming looked at it and shook his head. His appearance was indeed outstanding, but his temperament looked very different from Pei-in's. After all, in the online drama, Chang'an Noa, the third male character Pei-in is a man with deep thoughts, temperament, and feminine beauty. On the contrary, if the man in front of him insists on describing his overall temperament, it is elegant and has a kind of immortal aura. Not suitable, he is not suitable for the role of Pei-in. Lu Yumian clearly saw a flash of amazement in the eyes of the person in front of him, but the next second, the other person waved their hand and said in a calm voice, "You're not suitable." Upon hearing these words, Lu Yumian was not surprised. After all, he was just a little actor who didn't know where he came from. Naturally, he didn't just say he was suitable, but also had to show his abilities to the director in front of him. Director, whether it's suitable or not will only be known after auditioning. Upon hearing these words, Guo Qingming couldn't help but frown. This young man is quite popular. After a moment of contemplation, I let out a leisurely sigh and realized that filming was about to begin. The schedules of the actors in the drama were all pre-arranged. And to be honest, he has never found a good actor for the role of the third male lead. After all, those with good acting skills and high positions look down on their small crew. Even some lesser-known male actors are unwilling to join a low-cost web drama as a third male actor, but he understands that there are not many actors in the industry who love acting and consider it their career. To put it simply, this circle is just a fame and fortune arena, where everyone wants to climb higher and doesn't even bother to hone their acting skills. Guo Qingming didn't expect the boy in front of him to bring him such a big surprise. However, for a while, I couldn't think of a better solution, so I had to let the boy in front of me give it a try. Guo Qingming pointed to the script that had been shelved on the side and casually opened a page, pointing to the plot above and saying, "Your name is Lu Yumian, right? Come and try this scene." Lu Yumian took the script handed over by the other party and first glanced roughly at the plot above. In this plot, it is precisely when the female protagonist introduces the male protagonist to Pei-in. In the book, the female protagonist Lin Shitong has always regarded Pei-in as her elder brother. At this time, the female protagonist does not know that the male protagonist is the current crown prince, and thinks that her beloved is just an ordinary scholar. However, Pei-in himself had only seen the crown prince, so on the one hand, he didn't want to harm the female lead and could only treat her as his younger sister. On the other hand, when he saw that his beloved female lead had a crush, he naturally felt uncomfortable. And now Lu Yumian is going to play this plot. Guo Qingming gave Lu Yumian 15 minutes of preparation time. Lu Yumian quickly memorized the lines to be spoken in less than 2 minutes, and then began to ponder Pei-in's psychology when she saw another man next to her crush. It was time to prepare quickly, and Lu Yumian nodded slightly to Director Guo in front of her, indicating that she could start. At this point, there were already many staff members gathered around, and the commotion was so loud that the crew couldn't have overlooked them. The director also didn't drive them away. After all, being able to perform their best acting skills in front of the public is a qualified actor. At this moment, Lu Yumian is standing in the middle, with Guo Qingming in front of him. I saw the young man standing in front of me lowering his head, as if pondering something. Looking up again, his eyes turned into a different emotion. Yes, the bottom of his eyes felt suffocating like a stagnant pool of water. This was Pei-in's usual appearance, although he looked like a smiling tiger in front of outsiders, the chill did not reach his eyes. Lu Yumian slowly curled his lips, but his temperament was vastly different from that of the warm young man before. Everyone knew that at this moment, Lu Yumian was not because Pei-in was in a very bad mood. Pei-in had not yet seen the female protagonist Lin Shitong when he heard rumors from the servants in the mansion that the young lady had brought an outsider to the mansion. The young man standing in the middle spoke calmly, his tone filled with concern for the female lead. "Tanger, is this your new friend? Why hasn't my brother heard you talk about it before?" With such a simple line, the young man's tone was steady, seemingly without any inner turmoil, and his face still wore a warm spring breeze-like smile, but it made people feel cold for no reason. "Especially when I saw this friend, he was actually the crown prince of the current dynasty. Perhaps others may have a somewhat surprised expression in their eyes when performing. But Lu Yumian felt that Pei-in was essentially a madman, and the only chain that could restrain him was on the female lead Lin Shitang. Pei-in didn't even consider being the emperor, let alone the current crown prince. The next second, Pei-in in front of everyone reached out to stroke Lin Shitang's face. In fact, Lu Yumian was caressing the air. Although it was a performance without any physical objects, it made people feel that there was really a young girl in front of Lu Yumian. Tanger, I've been working hard outside these days and my cheeks have become quite thin. The young man's voice was light, sad and hoarse, but his eyes were filled with possessiveness and paranoia. Suddenly, there was silence on the set, and everyone was taken in. As if the character Pei-in really existed in reality, this character came to life from paper. For a moment, I don't know who was the first to applaud. Suddenly, everyone applauded, and even director Guo Qingming couldn't help but show an excited expression on his face. Now, their crew has finally found a treasure. Approaching, he hugged Lu Yumian's shoulder and instructed, his eyes filled with admiration for the young man. Okay, Yumian. You can try on your makeup later. The clothes may not fit well, but I will contact the clothing department to make changes. Guo Qingming rarely met such an intelligent actor, and his talkative nature also showed up. He talked about a lot and rose to him that he was going to play the actor of male Sandu. The actor who played the role of Sandu before was called Lin Chu. He appeared quite beautiful in the talent show and became popular for a while. However, his acting skills were average, but he was also somewhat talented. This is also the reason why Guo Qingming agreed to play Pei-in at the beginning. After all, no matter how good-looking he is, he wouldn't use actors with no acting skills. He would rather have actors with better acting skills. I couldn't find a better actor for a while, and I was about to start up. The venue was rented in advance, so I hurriedly booked it. Unexpectedly, the other party did not know how to obtain a new movie character from a well-known director in the industry, and it was just a passerby character. The other party unexpectedly reneged on it temporarily and their attitude was not very good. The other party's agent even claimed that their artist did not lack any penalty for breach of contract. At this moment, even if Guo Qingming had a good temper, he couldn't help but get angry and scolded the other party, blackmailing them and never cooperating. Upon hearing this, Lu Yumian felt a sense of clarity in his heart. Thinking about the true and false young master in his mind, Lin Chu seems to be one of his older brother's admirers, as if he is a familiar person. However, my elder brother seems to be a career maniac, and until the end of the book, I never saw any close friends around him. I firmly grasped the ruthless script of Long Outyen, not troubled by love and affection, and only saw the continuous expansion of his business territory. Before meeting, Guo Qingming suddenly lowered his voice of roast, rubbed his hands and smiled at the landing. Yumian, the budget in that production team is not very high, so the remuneration may be a bit low. Lu Yumian smiled upon hearing this, indicating that she was okay. After all, he is just an unknown little actor now, so naturally he doesn't want any high salary, let alone many people in the industry who bring funds to play roles in the group. Although he wants to repay the nurturing kindness of the Lu family for many years, and Grandpa Lu's love and care for him, this matter cannot be urgent. Only by sinking his heart can he establish himself firmly in the circle. Lu Yumian has never been a person with lofty goals. After chatting with the director about his insights on the role of Pei-in, Lu Yumian went into the dressing room to try on her makeup. Time was running out, and in the afternoon, they had to take some makeup photos of the character first. Now that all the characters have been tried, but he hasn't tried yet, we must hurry up and make the most of it. Chapter 8. Makeup Photos. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As soon as Lu Yumian sat on the chair, the makeup artist walked over. The makeup artist who came in looked young, with glasses that looked like grapes and didn't look small. She was a naturally familiar girl. She took the initiative to talk to Lu Yumian without delaying herself from putting on her makeup. Xiaowan is the first time she has seen a male artist with such good skin. She has also put on makeup for male artists before, but those male artists usually stay up all night to catch up on their schedules, and some even can't help but smoke and drink, without any self-control. The skin condition is basically not very good. She heard her little sisters say that some of the so-called on-site refined pictures of chasing a certain star in the group had taken a long time to come out privately, and even more, the videos were all fixed frame by frame. Xiaowan rarely sees male artists with skin as good as Lu Yumian, so she couldn't help but muster up a strong spirit to approach this makeup attempt. According to Pei Yin's persona, Lu Yumian's face was painted with a slightly sickly makeup. After all, in the drama, Pei Yin's body was not very good, but she was beautiful and described as more beautiful than a woman in the script, with an indistinguishable male and female makeup. Xiaowan specially drew the opponent's eye tail upwards, with a hint of fierce attack, and the faint lip color looked somewhat sickly. Not long after finishing her makeup, Xiaowan couldn't help but stare at the person in front of the mirror for a moment, because the young man who had finished his makeup in the mirror was so stunning, completely different from the feeling we had just met. Lu Yumian slowly raised his eyes and asked the little girl in front of him where he was going to change clothes next. At this moment, Xiaowan quickly regained consciousness and pointed to Lu Yumian in the direction of the changing room. Lu Yumian nodded in gratitude. Although the makeup in front of her was not exquisite, the few strokes outlined the character's spirit. It is not an exaggeration to say that Lu Yumian felt that the seemingly inexperienced girl in front of her was quite talented in makeup. After a while, the man who had just walked into the changing room walked out. Xiaowan and another assistant girl put on a wig for Lu Yumian. After fixing the wig, the entire makeup was considered complete. Lu Yumian stood up, and everyone present couldn't help but hold their breath. After all, the boy in front of him had a heart-wrenching appearance. Lu Yumian nodded to Xiaowan in front of her and curled her lips to say thank you. Xiaowan's earlobes immediately turned red, and the boy in front of her was really foul. I was about to go to the studio to take some makeup photos, and almost as Lu Yumian walked out of the dressing room, all the eyes around me, big and small, were projected. Emperor Lu, of course, has only seen many storms and waves, and with a calm attitude, he smiles and nods with the people around him. In an instant, many people raised their phones to take photos and take a group photo, and Xiaowan was naturally the first person to propose taking a photo with Lu Yumian. Lu Yumian then turned his head to look at the director not far away and nodded before agreeing. Guo Qingming also doesn't want to ruin the excitement of these young girls with youthful hearts on the set. He just wants people to take photos and not spread it out. He can enjoy it privately. After all, the drama has not been aired yet, and the makeup of the characters in the drama cannot be released in advance. Guo Qingming glanced at Lu Yumian and, more like Pei Yin. I couldn't help but feel even more grateful for my decision this morning, so I urged someone to take the makeup photos. Lu Yumian came here late and was the last person to come. As soon as he entered the studio, everyone was busy with work, and for a while, no one noticed his arrival. Someone greeted him instead. Hello, I am Yun Tian, an actor who plays General Chen Jingshan. Lu Yumian nodded, and before he could speak, he saw the person in front of him continuing to speak. Are you an actor who plays Pei Yin, Lu Yumian? I just heard about you. Lu Yumian was a bit surprised. She didn't expect her morning actions to spread so quickly, but the actor quickly adjusted his mood and shook hands with the man in front of him. He realized that the other party had no hostility. So, under the initiative of Yun Tian, the two of them leaned over to speak during their break, and quickly finished taking their makeup photos. After taking the makeup photos, Lu Yumian took a taxi and prepared to return to the Lu family's old house. After all, he has been busy all day today and needs to hurry back to eat. When he was just energetic enough to work, he didn't feel hungry or tired at all. Now he suddenly calmed down, and a sense of fatigue and hunger suddenly surged up. The taxi that Lu Yumian took arrived, and then he got on and took out his phone, ready to reply to the message. Firstly, the lawyer from Xingshi sent himself a termination contract, and the other party didn't know what method was used so quickly. Soon, Huanyu agreed to release the person, and the original penalty for breach of contract was reduced from 50 million to 300,000. Lu Yumian was somewhat surprised. He had already prepared for a penalty that could only be reduced by half, but suddenly he only had 300,000 left. It seems that the Ministry of Justice in its heyday truly lived up to its reputation. Lu Yumian thought for a moment about the balance in her card. Well, there were still over 200,000 yuan left, which were living expenses given by the Lu family and Grandpa Lu to the original owner. Originally, there were 500,000 to 600,000 yuan in a month, but half of it was spent this month. Fortunately, he came over early, otherwise the original owner probably wouldn't have spent a penny. He should have gathered another 300,000, after all, there is nothing more important than terminating the contract now. Lu Yumian asked the lawyer at Xingshi's side if it was possible to transfer 300,000 yuan to him in a few days, and they would then hand over the money to Huanyu. I saw the other party tell me that Mr. Lu has already paid the penalty for breach of contract on his behalf. What? Lu Tingnian actually paid himself a penalty for breach of contract. Lu Yumian was really surprised, but she subconsciously believed that the other party should be looking for Mr. Lu's face. Now my nominal elder brother has helped me. In this case, the other party has already helped me a lot. I just came over and the hotel hired a lawyer for me. Now, I have paid a penalty for my breach of contract. Lu Yumian didn't believe that the decisive leader in the book suddenly turned into a philanthropist. After thinking about it, he didn't have any place to repay the other party. At present, he still needs to earn some money as soon as possible. Apart from other aspects, he cannot accept this 300,000 yuan with peace of mind. He has caused enough trouble for the Lu family, and now he must at least achieve economic independence. Not long after, I arrived at the old mansion of the Lu family. As soon as Lu Yumian entered the door, he met his own elder brother's gaze and remembered that his elder brother knew about the foolishness of the original leader, signed a contract to sell himself, and even paid himself a penalty for breach of contract, although these foolishness were not his fault. Lu Yumian felt inexplicably ashamed, it was really embarrassing. He is an adopted son of the Lu family and has the real young master of the Lu family clean up the mess for him. On today's dining table, there were only two people, Lu Yumian and Lu Tingnian, with an eerie and peaceful atmosphere. Mr. Lu is not staying in the Lu family's old house these days, as his regular checkups have arrived. He is currently living in a nursing home. Chapter 9. Hot Milk. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mr. Lu is not here, and the two brothers who were originally indifferent in the original book have not spoken up. Lu Tingnian's mealtime was very dignified, but it didn't look like he had been in the countryside for a few years at all. His speed was slow and orderly, especially pleasing to the eye. Lu Yumian glanced at the man in front of him, who was very good. He didn't notice himself, so he took out his phone while eating and scrolled through a certain blog. Most of the original owner's bloggers are zombie fans bought with money, and the comments section is pitifully lacking. The latest update is a selfie posted by the original owner last month, and there are actually scattered true love reviews from a few fans below, with more quirky black fans. Lu Yumian found it quite interesting when he saw it. Most of these black fans were cursing him as a vase without acting skills, but few people used the original owner's appearance to criticize him. The young man across from Lu Tingnian, who met before, started scrolling through his phone while eating and couldn't help but frown. The other person's hand holding the phone inadvertently revealed a section of their wrist, as if it could be easily broken with a gentle fold. Well, no wonder he's so thin and doesn't even focus on eating. Lu Tingnian had completely forgotten that sometimes he had to work hard and could stay in the study all day. The next second, the young man in front of him lifted his head and looked at Lu Tingnian, with an inexplicable hint of anticipation in his tone. "That big brother, are you available after dinner later? I have something to talk to you about." After spending this time together, Lu Yumian didn't feel as scared as when he first met Lu Tingnian. Instead, he felt that the big shot Lu in front of him was quite easy to get along with. After all, the other party will not harm themselves due to inexplicable resources. When it comes to the fate of the original owner, it is not his own fault. The second young master of the Lu family should not act properly, as he insists on approaching the leader of the Lu family to die. Moreover, in the original book, Mr. Lu has given the original owner many opportunities. If it were someone else, they would probably have to take advantage of the opening 3 chapters. Upon hearing the words of the boy in front of him, Lu Tingnian didn't show much expression on his face. The reason why he was willing to clean up the mess for his nominal younger brother during this period was just a sudden impulse. After all, the Lu family has an extra mouth. This person has lost his job outside, and when he comes back, the old man still has to worry. "Sure, you can come back to the study to find me when I finish the meeting later." Lu Yumian nodded to show understanding. He wants to find Lu Tingnian just to say thank you to his elder brother. Although the other party doesn't say they can't pretend it hasn't happened, now he eats from the Lu family. To exaggerate, his underwear also belongs to the Lu family. Having accepted so much kindness from the other party and pretending to be indifferent, the actor Lu is really not used to it. Unexpectedly, Emperor Lu Ying, who used to detest others drawing big cakes for himself, now wants to draw big cakes for others. Lu Yumian originally wanted to make a cup of coffee and send it to someone when he entered the study to show his attitude. On second thought, would Lu Tingnian be unable to sleep while drinking coffee at night? After thinking for a moment, I still heated a glass of milk. Just like that, milk is good, milk helps sleep. On the other side, Lu Tingnian has just finished his official duties and is currently organizing the materials for tomorrow's meeting. He has a strong sense of vigilance and can quickly detect weak noises. Firstly, there was the sound of footsteps coming from the hallway, a normal sound, walking towards me. Then he stopped at the door directly opposite him and suddenly fell silent. Lu Tingnian seemed to be able to see through that door the uneasy appearance of the newcomer. Outside the door, Lu Yumian was carrying a glass of milk. It was almost midnight now, and I don't know if his big brother has finished his work. Ghost knows he's lying and waiting, almost falling asleep. No, he feels like a concubine waiting for the emperor's favor in a palace drama. No, it must be an illusion. This idea is too scary. It had been quiet for more than 10 minutes, and the person who had been standing at the door seemed to have gathered the courage to knock on the door at this moment. "Big brother, are you available now?" The man's deep voice followed. "Come in." Lu Yumian opened the door and saw Lu Tingnian sitting at his desk. The man's tall nose bridge was adorned with a pair of golden-framed glasses, and his expression revealed a hint of fatigue. Suddenly, a word came to mind in Lu Yumian's mind. A refined and despicable person. "Big brother, do you know about the fact that I signed an entertainment contract before?" The man did not respond to Lu Yumian, but the other person's silence had already told him the answer. "Can you please ask big brother for something? Don't tell Grandpa Lu if it's okay." After a moment, the boy pursed his lips. "I don't want him to worry about the elderly." Upon hearing these words, Lu Tingnian stopped looking at the documents in his hand and casually lifted his eyelids to glance at the young man in front of him. "Reason." The man's thin lips coldly spat out these 2 words, looking somewhat unfriendly. "I won't cause trouble for the Lu family in the future. And when I stabilize my job in the future, I will find time to move out of the Lu family. I also know that I am not from the Lu family and my grandfather has no blood relationship. Moreover, I will also repay the 300,000 yuan penalty you paid for me and do my best to repay the Lu family's nurturing kindness. I hope big brother can give me some time. After all, I haven't figured out how to tell Grandpa yet." The young man before the meeting said so much at once, every sentence was about leaving the Lu family. Lu Tingnian couldn't help but furrow his brows as he listened, feeling very irritable in his heart. At first, I couldn't say I liked the person in front of me. Occasionally, I thought the other person was malicious and a bit foolish, and even the little tricks they played wouldn't catch his eye. Now, when I hear that the other person is leaving the Lu family, I still feel a bit uneasy in my heart. This is a bit out of his control and cognition. Lu Tingnian looked at the person in front of him, his gaze fixed on the other person, and his eyes darkened. No need. Those things don't need to be returned, they are all orders from Grandpa. Lu Yumian heard it, and it was true that the other party only helped him solve the problem for the sake of Mr. Lu's face. Well, I know, but thank you, big brother. No, this is the milk I just heated up. Big brother drank it, rest early. The young man took the initiative to approach, placing the milk in a cup aside, half of his palm hidden in his long sleeve, revealing half of his pink fingers. After a while, there were no more voices of teenagers in the room. Lu Tingnian stared at the milk on the table, his eyes somewhat obscure and unclear. He is allergic to milk, and when he first returned to the Lu family, he was also allergic in front of Lu Yumian. Chapter 10. Entering the production team. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The next day, Lu Yumian arrived on the set early in the morning. At this time, the actor who played the male and female protagonists in the book also took a photo with him. Due to the limited budget for low-cost web dramas, most of the actors are newcomers within the industry. The actor who played Prince Xiaoheng is called Xiaotian. Although he is a lukewarm actor in the industry, he has also appeared in some TV dramas, and his experience should be relatively rich in the production team. Xiaotian didn't like to talk much, and when he saw Lu Yumian, he just nodded slightly. His temperament was introverted and steady, which was somewhat similar to the prince in the play. He didn't have a good impression of the actor who was replaced on the spot, although he heard that the actor who originally played Pei-in also broke the contract and couldn't come at the last minute. But in his opinion, this suddenly replaced Lu Yumian is probably also a related person. The girl who plays the female lead Lin Shitong on the other side is called Mengyu, and she is completely new. She just graduated from university this year and participated in the female lead audition held by the production team. Guo Qingming saw her and immediately decided on her. The girl in front of me has a sweet appearance, delicate features, and looks full of spiritual energy. Lu Yumian looked at the two of them and calmly smiled, saying hello. Nowadays, everyone is still unfamiliar, showing too much enthusiasm rashly will only make people feel disgusted. After a while, Director Guo walked over and coordinated the arrangements of the on-site staff. Seeing several of their main actors, I encouraged Mengyu, who was a newcomer, and Lu Yumian, who seemed to be an acting novice, not to be too nervous later. A few people have also put on their makeup and put on their masks, and have come out of the dressing room to start the first scene. The first scene is a meeting between the female protagonist Lin Shitong and the Crown Prince, who is disguised as a scholar at this moment. The Crown Prince is deeply suspected by the Emperor due to the strong influence of his mother's clan. Today, the fifth prince, who is most favored and favored by the Emperor, is the noblewoman. The fifth prince is naturally domineering and bullies men and women. Moreover, she specifically likes to flirt with women from good families, and unexpectedly met Lin Shitong, who came to Beijing to search for her biological parents, which naturally made her fall in love at first sight. As the female lead, Lin Shitong has a stunning appearance that naturally makes the fifth prince unforgettable. At that time, Crown Prince Xiaoheng, who was meeting with his disciples in a restaurant, accidentally stumbled upon this scene and felt pity to help the female protagonist get rid of her entanglement. That is to say, the unintentional actions of the male lead Xiaoheng have made the female lead develop a favorable impression of him. Later, the male protagonist concealed his identity and stayed by the female protagonist's side. After experiencing various hardships, the two became even more affectionate than Jin Jian. Of course, the biggest highlight of this drama is the female lead's captivating nature. Basically, men who can be called by name and look a bit handsome have a good impression of the female lead. In addition to the male lead, there is also the young General Jing Shen and the 9,000-year-old Pei Yin played by Lu Yumian. On this side, as soon as the male and female lead roles were completed, it was Lu Yumian's turn to play Pei Yin, who saved the beauty of the male lead's restaurant hero. In the drama, Pei Yin, as the most favored eunuch of the emperor, has power that can be said to be below one person and above 10,000 people. Pei Yin's first appearance was in the Golden Wan Palace, and his crimson court uniform accentuated his white and jade-like face. Although he didn't look like a sickly seedling, his momentum was not weak at all. Faced with the ministers who publicly accused him, he calmly discussed other matters with the emperor and discreetly demoted these people to remote territories. Pei Yin had a smile on his face and a faint light in his eyes, like a venomous snake in a cold pond. Director Guo behind the camera couldn't help but admire Lu Yumian's gaze. "Yumian, your gaze is very good." That's how Pei Yin acted. Lu Yumian casually tidied up her clothes and looked at the director not far away, humbly responding. The director was overpraised. Standing on the side, Shen Xiaonan, who had not gone to the lounge to rest, looked at Lu Yumian, who was detached from his role, with a strange expression in his eyes. It seemed that the person in front of him still had two tricks. Lu Yumian also noticed that someone was looking at him. Turning around, he saw Shen Xiaonan playing the male lead. Xu Mei smiled and nodded. Shen Xiaonan didn't expect to see the other person being noticed and even smiling at him. Can't help but mutter. Does this person have a smile on everyone's face? TSK. After a while, Lu Yumian saw Shen Xiaonan's agent come over and say something in their ear, and the person left the set. On the other hand, the agent said to Shen Xiaonan in front of him, "We may need your cooperation with menu here. Try to be as close as possible during the break of the set. I have arranged for someone to take some photos of the materials for both of you, and you can cooperate to stir-fry the CP." Shen Xiaonan heard it and couldn't help but frown. Menu agreed on that. The agent nodded. "They came to us on their own initiative, and after thinking about it, I wanted to ask them for your personal opinion. But I suggest you cooperate." Shen Xiaonan's eyes darkened and his tone became somewhat irritable. "I don't want to, I want to act well." The agent couldn't help but feel a bit anxious when meeting the answers of the predecessors. "Shengu, you need to understand that this drama has no significant impact, and the company will definitely not provide any more resources. You know, over the years, Shen Xiaonan naturally knew that the dramas he had acted in for so many years were basically lukewarm and unpopular. Those who stayed in this circle didn't want to be popular, and Shen Xiaonan naturally wanted to be popular. After all, if they weren't popular, it would depend on the faces of others in this circle. I only heard the agent in front of me continue to say, "Shengu, I won't force you. Think about it yourself. Sometimes opportunities only come once or twice, and many in the industry rely on marketing to gain traffic before slowly receiving good scripts. Although it's a small production web drama, it's rare for you to get a male lead role, which may be the only chance." After hearing these words, Shen Xiaonan didn't have the same positive attitude as before, but instead fell silent after finishing filming. Lu Yumian saw the message that the butler Lu had sent him an hour ago. This morning, Mr. Lu accidentally fell in the leg at the nursing home. Manager Lu asked Mr. Lu Yumian to visit the old man's home when he had time. Upon seeing the news, Lu Yumian couldn't help but feel a bit worried, with a hint of complex emotions in his eyes. After all, Mr. Lu was the first elder he met who treated him well when he came to this world. In his previous life, his blood relationship was already weak, and he envied the harmonious family atmosphere from a young age. I couldn't help but hurriedly say hello to Director Guo, saying that I have something to do at home and need to hurry back. Perhaps Lu Yumian performed very well in front of him today, and there was no role for him afterwards. The director nodded but quickly let him go. On the other hand, Lu Yumian took a car and arrived at the hospital where Mr. Lu was located at the address given by the butler. As soon as I entered the door, I saw Mr. Lu lying on the hospital bed with one leg suspended in plaster, holding a chest sheet and listening to a small tune. As soon as Lu Yumian left the crew, he rushed over with a dusty appearance. Seeing this appearance, I couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the old man seemed to be in a good mental state.